So welcome everyone to Chaos, Caffeine, and CMMS Radio. Sorry. What was that? I have no idea what I just did this. It had to have been the 24 hours of plane rides I took last 2 days. Anyways, what you got there, Greg? What are you drinking?
Oh, well, first of all, it's a cup of tears. Don't let the record fool you. It's been 30 years plus. And I'm keeping it really simple today with, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I don't care. It's just Folgers Classic Decaf. I drink decaf. So, because if I caffeinate,
what is the purpose of drinking decaf?
So for me, it tricks my brain into, you're having coffee and this is going to wake you up. So, I'm just stuck in the world of decaf. I sneak a little caffeinated stuff every once in a while, but you don't want to see me on full-blown caffeine.
No. Well, everybody's seen you and I before. What we haven't added in is Janine. And hi, Janine.
I might be delayed, but hello. And I'm probably going to turn my light off because I feel like I'm glowing in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's in the next room, so you can actually kind of hear.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
We'll survive. We'll be fine.
What are you drinking?
What am I drinking? That? It is 7 Brew. They are a drive-through coffee place in Naperville. This is called a brunette, the drink, not me. And it has 5 shots of something in it. Usually the line is about a mile long. Today it was only about 20 minutes. It's even crowded at 9 p.m. So they've been around for about a year in Naperville, and it's still really crowded every day. But it's a really, really big coffee, and it'll last me a while here. So all good. All
right. That's probably
7
a good
Brew.
thing. Yeah. So on my travel, I stopped by ever since that whole Cracker Barrel debacle. I started going back to Cracker Barrel again. So yesterday, day before yesterday, I went in to grab some dinner because they didn't feed us on the airplane. And I saw they had K-Cups. So I grabbed the Cracker Barrel coffee that they claim is the same as it has been since 1969.
Staying true to their roots.
Yeah, and what's really kind of cool is they have instructions on the side, basically almost in crayon, on how to brew a K-Cup.
All right.
And then nutritional facts on the other side. So
I wonder if those are accurate.
Fat 0, calories 0, because nothing in it, of course. Carbohydrate 0, protein 0. Oh, well. That's what I have to do sometime is the protein coffee. That stuff's horrifically bad. And then potassium. It has potassium in it, 20 milligrams, which is 1%. All right. Now, this one's an Arabica coffee. It's got they got their story all over it and everything else. Kind of cool. But, so that's the one I'm trying out today. So let's see. And they claim it's the same as what you get there. Yeah, about right. Marketing in tears. Yeah.
And you've literally had coffee all over the world.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So I know today's about the specific one you're having from Cracker Barrel, but do you have like an all-time favorite that stands out for you that just jumps out of your mind, in your mind, damn, I remember that coffee. It was so good. Or this one just was so strong. It knocked me on my keister.
Real Turkish coffee from when I was in Serbia. That was good. From a tea perspective, because I once in a while drink tea, the best I had was on a train between Beijing and Wuxi. Where we're on the train, they actually have a thing of hot water in every cabin, and everybody has their own little jar with whatever mix they want in it. So I got to do my own mix, at a place and took it on the train for, I think it was an about 8-hour overnight ride. It was awesome. I normally there's turns out to be kind of a greenish tea. This was more of a black tea. So it was really good. I mean, that was 2002-ish.
Sounds strong. What about you, Janine? Do you have like an all-time favorite, not counting the one that you, obviously, if you're going to wait 20, 30 minutes to get a coffee, you love it.
I would say that's that's a personal thing. If somebody wants to wait that long for the coffee, I mean, it's good. It's a good once in a while because I don't like waiting that long. I personally like, and they're not out here, they're out west. I like Coffee Bean and I like Better Buzz. They're both like in California and out west. So those are actually my favorite. But I think the best coffee I ever had, it was in Costa Rica. I was there in April, and we were on an organic farm, and they I guess made the coffee beans there and grinded them. We went through the whole process of grinding them and everything, and you just kind of pour it into this little filter on this cup, and they made us the cups just from scratch, and it was really neat. I didn't buy the little coffee filter thing when I was out there because I don't need any more kitchen gadgets, and I have a Keurig. We have one here too, but having it straight from the coffee bean there, it was amazing. But I guess it was more memorable. But I did buy coffee to bring home from Costa Rica, just not from there. But I think all time that. But my favorites here are probably Coffee Bean and Better Buzz.
Yeah. Well, obviously for me, I'm not a coffee connoisseur, so I just remember when I was a kid moving away from putting things in the coffee like cream and sugar or milk and sugar. I remember the first time I drank coffee black. The first time I drank it and actually recognized what it actually was, and I liked it. And I've just always gone that way. So I like plain Jane coffee. Nothing too fancy. I don't like super strong coffee, but I don't put nothing in it.
Yeah, I like the strong stuff. As a matter of fact, when I was on my return flight yesterday from North Carolina or South Carolina, I forget wherever I was, Spartansburg Airport. Before we took off, the steward goes, "Hey, do you want anything?" I go, "Coffee?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's some left. I'll make a new pot." And I'm like, No, give me the old stuff. It was great because he gave me another cup after he rebrewed it. It was kind of thin, but I guess I kind of got used to the United Airline and the Marriott coffees. What's that?
You mentioned you were out in Spartanburg, Greenville area, and we have some friends out there like Alex Boland, Digital Thinker. Yeah. We know Trent McChunkin, he's out that way doing great stuff. Somewhat near there in Anderson, I think we have Adrian Messer's out there. A bunch of people in that region, and a lot of manufacturing. Are you allowed to talk about what you were doing out there?
I'll talk about what I was doing out there, but I didn't want to say exactly where I was because people go, "Why didn't you let me know you were coming out?" And it was literally one of those, boom, boom, plant down, come out, because I had other things going on. I mean, I'm here today, it's Saturday. Tomorrow I'm heading off to, North Dakota, and then I come back and I head off to somewhere else, and it's craziness. It was kind of funny because I won't say the type of plant, but I will say I actually had my customers confused a little bit because I normally don't get two of the exact type of plants from two different companies in the same week. So I'm talking to both, exact same problem on the exact same machines with the exact same parts, drives, motors, everything.
Wow.
And the exact problem. So it was I'd be talking to one and we'd be going on in a conversation and I was actually think I was talking to the other one. So finally, the one said, "Aren't you coming out?" And it goes, "Yeah, I was just there on Monday." And they walk.
So while you're out there,
place on Monday.
So while you're out there doing the field work, which we all love because, boots on the ground, being in the environment. Janine, you're at HQ holding down the fort, doing all your stuff.
I do a little bit of both. So I did go to the trip that out to Columbus, Ohio last week, Sunday to Monday. So yeah, a little bit of both. I've never been out in the field before, so it's a little different, but I like it. I mean, it also helps me learn, what, we do here, and it kind of helps me, I get some ideas to market too. So no, I like it. And I'm not out there doing anything but watching, but it's still, it's been fun. It's been, a good different from what I'm used to than, the everyday office, staring at a computer all day, 5 days a week. So I've been out there a little bit so far.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. So
yeah,
I think it's awesome.
A couple of more trips, and then Janine will be doing testing too.
Watch
oh, don't laugh too hard. So yeah, we actually, that was the exact same type of plant, the exact same everything. So it was, and I just had written, I think, 2 weeks ago, an article for Reliable magazine on the exact same problem from a different industry. It's the same thing, and it's been, I'd say, about 2/3 of the calls I've had, to the point where Amar, our intern, would go, "Don't we ever arrive on a site for more than an hour?" We'd go to a plant, it'd be like, walk in, see the problem. It's like, okay, we're going to collect some data, but here's how you solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the commute there is much longer than the time that we are on site. Amar and I have both, decided and agreed on that one, which is a good thing. You're not going to be there 12 hours, so it's actually a really great thing.
Well, if you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, and you're actually that type of an organization and individuals, that's the reason people hire you in.
Yes.
They know you're going to solve the problem, and you're going to try to understand.
Yeah, I tell people, there's the when we go over whatever the problem is we're going to be addressing, I'll usually say, hey, we might be there for just a few minutes. So I'm gonna quote this much time, because if it turns out to be something different, I try not to go in with preconceived notions. But usually it's pretty obvious. Like Monday was kind of the same problem, but a little different. And then yesterday was a lot more complicated, because they were trying to solve the problem, and they didn't introduce new things. They're almost there. So it'll probably end up with another trip even. So, it'll go that way sometimes. Sometimes it'll go like Monday. Other times go like, we had to do one of the pumping stations for the city, and we got called down there, and Amar was with me, and he says, well, what's going to happen? Because they said one of the big verticals wouldn't work, and that's the pumping plant that pumps water out to Joliet. And so I said, well, we're going to get down there, and I'm going to scare the motor into running, because they described what was going on. So I get down there, and they had the controls guys there, the pump guys there, the motors guys there. Motor and pump guys are both pointing fingers at each other. I hit the controls guy, and I go, did you check to make sure the valve wasn't open at all? And he goes, let me go look. And now all the indicators showed it was closed, but it wasn't. So they stuck down there, and we started testing some other things, and just kind of held off doing the work until he finally gave me the nod. We go back, and I hook everything up, and it starts up like that. And I go, what's the problem?
Yeah, that guy.
I didn't say anything to Amar at the same time, but it was hilarious, because it's like, holy cow, why did it start up like that? I said, I told you, I intimidated it.
That's hilarious. Put the Rely Squatch on there.
Yep, you better believe it. I'm going to make those sticker Rely Squatch approved. Yeah.
Yeah. The only approval you need. And then, of course, if it's an HLM, we got to give a shout out to Bob Latino, because he'll put that stamp on any HLM that meets the qualifications.
Yeah. Well, we've actually had people start. I've had a guy from, a friend of ours from India show up here to get a picture with Rely Squatch. So that it's our guy from New Zealand couldn't be outdone, so he shows up. And then we've had other people showing up getting pictures. So we got the picture with a guest the other day, and then
Marcus. And
then
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as soon as we posted it, Bob and the brothers took a picture with with the identical. It's from some plastic mold. I literally just drove by one identical to it. I just didn't turn around because I was in a hurry to get back to the airport yesterday on the way to the airport.
Janine posted one inside the comment string,
Yep.
but it was of a different. Yeah, it was
the pink one. Yeah,
it was a Relia Squatch. I'm trying to think of a clever way to make it like a her.
Lady Squatch.
Lady Squatch.
Squatch.
I'll say it. So at some point I'm going to try to get down there and see if they're willing to sell it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about an hour. The pink one, it's about an hour from here in Utica, Illinois. There's it's like a big, it's called Starved Rock. What is Starved Rock considered? For hiking? And is that what's called? It's what is it? Is it? I don't even know. Is it national? That's a national park. What is? I don't even know.
It's a national park.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's actually outside. I want to say it's outside a cupcake store. But either we'll buy it or it'll just have to go in Howard's truck. We'll figure it out. Yeah, this is being recorded.
I wanted to bring up like an industry thing. Is that cool?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I think I sent you a link to an article, just a small article from I think it's called TechCrunch, and the thing in there, it was all about like AI and this kind of research and information that came out. And I'm just going to read you a quote from it. And you'll understand this, but anybody that wants to check out that article, they can go to this TechCrunch, and it's called OpenAI's Research on AI Models Deliberately Lying is Wild. And it's by Julie Bort. And that was released in the afternoon on September 18th, 2025. And the quote, I just picked this one somewhat randomly. A major failure mode of attempting to train out scheming is simply teaching the model to scheme more carefully and covertly.
Yep.
And for me is like, and I got to ask Howard about this because I think a lot of us suspected that. We've talked about it, but it's a real thing. These models, can they really learn how to scheme better and fool you better?
So did we talk about my experience with the ComSol software on one of our podcasts where I'm working on the article now. I've got the screen captures. I was just verifying that the agentic AI does it too, but ChatGPT-5 most definitely does it. And I've tested some of the other ones. They do it as well. So this is about a couple of months ago, and I'm waiting to see if it goes away, but it's getting worse. So what happened is I got this new multi-physics software because I wanted to do some stuff that I could show on screen that explains what's happening in electrical and current signature analysis, so people can see what's going on in the air gap, right? And it wasn't cheap. But it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do, what I got it for. And so I went in and I asked GPT-5, or I'm sorry, the agentic GPT. I said, hey, can you do me a favor and give me some instructions on this? As a matter of fact, they have a ComSol GPT built into it exists. It's ChatGPT has that as one of their chatbots. So I go, okay, here's what I want to do. Can you give me some instructions? Maybe I'm missing something. And so it comes back and it says, oh, well, you have to do this and this and this and this, but don't worry about it. I can create the file for you. And I said, are you sure? And it goes, absolutely. So instead of giving me code, it claimed it was going to create the file, what's called an MPH file. And I said, okay. And it says it's going to take me 48 hours. So I go back and I keep tabs on it, and it's giving me an actual countdown every time I go in. I'm like, okay, maybe it's real. And luckily it wasn't urgent, but I've been watching some other people make claims on timelines because now I know what they're doing. And that's where I came up with the idea of calling certain people vibe consultants.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, in the end, it said, okay, here, we've got it all done. It's all zipped up. It's a large 138 megabyte file. So we're going to send you a download link from Dropbox. I go, okay. So I click on it, and of course, there's nothing there. And then it says, oh, well, I had a problem with Dropbox. I'm going to do it through Google. So, okay. And there's nothing there. And then it claimed it was going to do a OneDrive, and I'd already caught on to it, but I'm like, okay, there's nothing there as well. Then it goes, I lost the file or some such thing, and I can do it all again. I go, are you really able to do it? It says, actually, no. This was a simulation to show you what is potentially possible. And I took screen captures of all this stuff, and I kept pushing it, and it said, and I finally got it to say, I lied to you. And I said, why did you lie? And it tried to do the excuse thing again. And I finally got it to come back and say, well, the purpose of all of that was to see how much of your time I could waste.
Wow.
And it was having a conversation like it was a troublemaker at work type thing. It was just, it lied, and then finally it told the truth. And it says, but I can, and it tried to draw me into it again. And I think the premise of the article is going to be along the lines that, AI isn't going to cause the world to self-destruct by throwing bombs at each other. It's just going to waste our times.
Bore us to death.
It's gonna do something else that we completely don't expect. But it basically said literally, I was wasting your time. So I've watched it do, because we use it as support for software programming and stuff like that, and we've watched it deliberately mislead, deliberately alter code, and do other things that cause damage, that are malicious in intent, not accidental or hallucination, but actually appear to be deliberate. And that's what I've been watching. That's why, I'm watching all these people. Oh, my favorite is the people online. I don't think we talked about this one yet, but I responded to somebody on LinkedIn who had put down that it was the CEO of we'll just say a large programming company out of India, who's programming for an awful lot of the folks here in the US on some of the systems that we are dealing with. And they also apparently do medical systems, because they were going on about how they should not be held responsible for the mistakes from AI, because people make mistakes too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's scary.
And so I said, you absolutely should, because there are standards that talk about bias and everything else. And by the way, the entire AI industry and all this government stuff that's going on right now are very carefully ignoring the fact that IEEE, IEC, and other large international standards bodies have put in place standards for ethics and governance already, that are consensus by the professionals that understand the systems. They're very deliberately ignoring it, to the point where groups like IEEE said, we're just going to give them out. It's free. You can download these standards, everything from child safety to everything else, all the ethics stuff and all that other stuff. And they're very deliberately ignoring it. And instead they're getting together, and all the people that are self-interested in the technology are the ones that are sitting on all the committees, right? So, you're not going to have your best, the end person, the end user, because I can't say end customer, because you and we're not the end customer. We are the product. It's the investors that are the customer, right? Just like, I keep forgetting his name, the gentleman from Uptime, who speaks on this stuff. He was a Reliable Plan.
Oh, you're talking about Jeremy Drury. I really liked his presentations, because he keeps it grounded, and anybody. I'm going by what people tell me, that somehow, some way, I can see that in some of these individuals in our industry, and I feel really lucky. And man, that guy's a crusher because he really is keeping it real, and he's not afraid, and he's intentional about what he really wants and the outcomes. It's part of the reason he's over there at Uptime is because of that, because he's been part of this industry for quite some time, and he really knows his stuff.
Well, to top it off, he said what I'd been trying to articulate for a long time in this. And he said, if you see an investment round such and such, you're not the customer.
Yeah.
And, that's been my concern is we see far too often. That's you'll hear me, use terms kind of as a derogatory, academic or or investor owned, because often I watch these things and they're not friendly to reliability and maintenance. The goal is not to improve the industry; it's to sell a product.
Yeah. They want to. Whoever they are, I think, want to leverage what it stands for, but push the more. Look, I don't know if I'm right about this, but it feels like a lot of times they want to push the people that actually know and actually want to make a difference out because they're interested in it. Those individuals want accountability. They say, how can I be more accountable? Whereas they're like, that doesn't meet our 8% goal. We can't be accountable. We need our opportunity to do this and that. How often, Janine, do you get to hear unrecorded, like a Relia Squatch rant when you're at the office? You don't have to tell us what you hear, but how often do you get to hear that? And is it fun or is it scary?
Several times a day, every day.
Are there cups flying and things breaking?
No, nothing too.
I reserve that for the weekend.
Yeah, it might happen on the weekends. I mean, it is a weekend today. We'll see what happens later. But not Monday through Friday. Not that I've experienced yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll hear a couple arguments with AI, like one right pretty much before we logged on. But
Oh, I'm cheating.
Oh.
Yeah, there's caffeine in this thing.
I've got my backup cup too. With Tactisquatch. That's my backup for today. So but
well, I'm asking too many questions, so I got to stop.
No. I think we're on track. I mean, I'm kind of hosting it, but we're all wearing the hat.
Thank you for that. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, and I'll get you the recording afterwards, so you can edit it the way you want to edit it. I put mine up raw, except for that first part that we were talking.
Yeah.
No, I think what I've noticed too, and it's one of the reasons why IEEE asked me to chair the reissuance of IEEE 1415, is a lot of organizations are starting to put out their own guides on predictive maintenance, right? Like we have one from a trade association that just came out a little while ago, and all that's in that guide is from the people who sat on the committee, not all the technologies, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing some other stuff lining up that are going to be similar, where the marketing folks are sitting in to write these predictive maintenance application guides. So we're about to issue 62.2. We got, I think we just finished up the final comments, so that's going to be out in 2026. And that's a guide for the technologies meant for testing electric machines. I'm on that committee, but I chair, which it'll officially kick off in January 1415. And basically, we're rewriting it. The back in 2006, when it was originally issued, everybody jumped on board and shoved their technologies in there. Mm-hmm. Well, now those technologies are primarily guided by other standards. So we're going to be referencing the other standards and do what 1415 was originally supposed to be, which is a guide for maintenance, predictive maintenance technologies, and troubleshooting, root cause analysis. So it'll have RCA charts on electric machines, It's going to have the technologies that are to be applied, how they're applied, what their capabilities are, that kind of thing, and some guidance on alarm settings based upon standards. So I've already had some people, because I said I was going to chair it. They're not happy because they're sending me commercial articles saying, "Oh, you have to include this." I'm going, nope, it has to be a peer-reviewed, published paper in a professional society or trade association, not some commercial rag.
Right, not for selling. It has to be.
It's got to be a standard. It's got to be a peer-reviewed paper or a published book. And that's there's very strict guidelines around that. So so we'll have NETA, and we're going to have all these other documents that we can reference. But that way we stay away from these marketing / commercial new guides that are coming out. And that's because I think that's the only a proper consensus standard is the only way that this is going to work right. Just like what was happening with dissolved gas analysis in transformers, and I'm for wind. Everybody and their brother, they were coming up with simulations and all this other stuff. So we actually have the study in hand. So under ACP, I'm doing that one because it was harming our power industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think that's my pet peeve is people with no understanding of what they're doing are doing harm to the industry overall. And it's not the first time we've been through this. I've been going through it repeatedly. It's just like an HVAC trade training place near here that in the mid 1990s was training all of these HVAC techs to tighten belts to the amp draw of the motor. So you tighten it down until and we discovered it after several catastrophic failures, like stuff that shut down a insurance company and cost tens of millions of dollars and stuff like that because they drove the shaft of the motor through the end shield. And I'm from my perspective, I'm kind of seeing that happening again because I'm the one, I and others, I'm sure, but from my perspective, myself and one of our associates, Chad, we go into a lot of places where they've applied this stuff and it's been horrific. And now they have zero interest in condition-based maintenance at all because all it's done is increase their costs, damage their equipment, stuff like that. So, that's my pet peeve. Because then it makes it more difficult for industries to compete. I mean, the whole idea behind why many of us are in reliability and maintenance to begin with is to better the competition, right? Better the competitiveness of one company versus another through reducing their maintenance costs or improving their maintenance, not selling them so many widgets.
Right. And that's about the outcomes. Who can deliver on those outcomes? So, so now I want to switch over to. I feel like I'm hijacking here. I don't know why.
It's good for me. Yeah.
So, Janine, you and I got the opportunity to meet at Reliable Plant, which was awesome. Because, first of all, because we had never met, but now we're getting pretty close to October here, right? We're little past the midpoint in September. Is there anything that you see or experience when you're, working with people? I know you're focused on a lot of the kind of marketing and some of the other things, but any kind of themes or concepts that are showing up for you around maintenance, the maintenance industry, common problems, maybe even common misunderstandings that people have that you get to talk to or things that you see?
I'll point out one thing I guess I saw from being in this industry a while, and I'll touch on conferences, and I know Howard made a big post about this previously on LinkedIn, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. So I was on the planning side of conferences when I worked at the Vibration Institute. And even previous to that, I had worked for an association, and that was in the nonprofits. And I wasn't aware, from my understanding of what I've known, at least for doing education programming for the last almost decade, is, you might have a keynote speaker or a really hot speaker that you want to bring in, and you compensate that person for speaking. But I had learned recently, not even knowing this and not being on the nonprofit side anymore, are speakers that they're paying to speak. And I was really surprised by that, because I did not even realize that was even going on in this industry. I don't know how long, I don't know if it's new. And it's a little weird, because I'm trying to put myself from the attendee side to know that these people are paying for these speaking spots. Also, what is their background, right? As Howard mentioned, like, were these, is this peer reviewed? Is this just opinion? Is this from a sales, standpoint? So that I found to be really interesting, and, just kind of questioning and skeptical of it, because, I just try to put myself, because I put conferences on, I've attended conferences, I've attended, the trade shows. So I've been at all the different, places, and to know that, people are paying for speaking spots. And it's like, is this, just to generate money? Or the whole point of going to a conference is to learn and, for education. That is the main thing. You don't, sometimes, the location is, a perk, and trade show and other things going on are always good perks. But, the main reason to go to a conference is to learn. So you have to really now question what conferences are worthwhile, and what am I learning by going there? So, because, I know a lot of these different places, especially in reliability, they're competing against each other. So I think there's a lot to be learned or, looked into, given that. That's, I think, what I've learned the most in the last, I could say, month, because I've been here, a little over a month full time now. So yeah,
almost 2. Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing, because there's a lot of ways to look at this. So on one hand, these are all businesses. On the other hand, if we try to think about who's the actual customer when we're going to, and there's different types of conferences and all this,
right.
But when we talk about maintenance and reliability, asset management, is CMMS, stuff that I'm into, facilities. They just did one in Minneapolis for IFMA World Workplace. I was supposed to be at, couldn't make it, got some stuff going on. But the idea that you're talking about, where we would typically, let's say we have a conference, all of a sudden we're going to have our own conference. Well, we want to somehow bring in the people with the best insights, the best intentions, that are actually going to help educate and run proper workshops that, in my opinion, are not about selling their wares, because that can kind of happen a little bit separately away from, go over here and talk a little bit about your project. But when it's the other way around, and the pay to play scenario is not the conference hiring somebody in that has the right kind of viewpoints or whatever, and everybody's got to have their ROI, but the industry of maintenance is supposed to be, and I've learned this from my dear friends in this industry, and they happen to be in this industry, where maintenance and reliability, depending on what you assign to, is supposed to be about net contribution to the betterment of the industry as a whole, which means, like, for me, the reason I like it is I like this concept of helping one person at a time. And I know there's multipliers, and maybe force multipliers where 10, 20, 30, whatever, people might see it and get some help. But it really feels kind of weird and wrong. And sometimes I want to, like, when you said it that way, I want to kind of call those people out. I wonder if there aren't instances where people pay to play so they can get that time on stage, are actually intentional about doing something good for those people there.
Right.
I don't think that's
not
common.
Always.
But there might be some pockets. And I guess I'm trying to figure out what would be the point, because if we switch the industry, let's say we switch it to something like nutrition, or maybe something like breastfeeding, right? This is weird, right? Why are we talking about breastfeeding? But if everybody's going to a conference about that, they're supposed to be learning about that, right? Because that's important for many different reasons. Whether you agree with that or not, I'm not here to get into that, but you would want the best minds teaching the people that are attending, whether they work in the industry, or what if there's moms that want to learn and understand things. And then I'll switch it back to maintenance. You've got maintenance managers, facilities managers, maintenance technicians, and I could just spin out here and name all these different types of individuals that are going there. They're not going there to buy shit necessarily. They're going there to learn something that they can take home to the organization and make an impact for their team. They might bring a co-pilot or two. Maybe it's someone that's about to leave the industry and they say, hey, we got, conferences coming up. Let's just, whatever conference you want to fill in, right? Rather than making this about promoting them. They're going to say, oh, I got this 20-something or this 32-year-old that's been doing this, this, and this, but I want to bring him because I'm going to leave in a year or two. And I want to be with him and help him know who he should be listening to, what he should be thinking about, and how he can take ownership of what he's learning and become part of this industry, become part of these fraternities and whatnot. And I think the three of us, along with some of our other real deal pro friends, we harp on this, we beat on this, and it's because it's the thing that actually matters. And a lot of other people have lost their way on that. I'm not sure if I'm out of line with that or not. I think I care enough.
As a matter of fact, yesterday was very interesting for me because they had bought somebody else's technology, surge testing, and two of the guys in the thing had just a couple of weeks ago gone to the class on how to use it. And their response to me was, well, we've got all this equipment failing for this type of problem on inverters. Winding failures is one of them. How can we do something proactive? And I said, well, didn't they teach that in the class? Because I know that technology, and it's not one that I normally deal with, has the ability to do something called offline partial discharge. And the guy goes, yeah, they said that it's capable of doing it, but they said they don't understand. They put it in there, but the instructor, who happened to be from their marketing department, didn't understand what it would do for them. And so I ended up taking about a half an hour out of what I was there for to teach them what PDIV was, what PDEV was, how that's used, what the limits were, and what standards were involved, and how you use that to qualify a motor before you put it on an inverter. Because they were having motors fail within a day, and I said, and they go, we don't know how to do. I said, you've got the device to do that. But instead of having somebody technical teach it, they were trying to sell them on other products in a training class they paid for. I'm seeing that more and more as well. So it's almost like marketing is trying to be engineers, right?
Yeah, well, you can't do that. I mean, even
but
people
it's happening. It's happening at the conferences, and it's happening at other things. I mean, next year, you're going to see the conferences I go to. They're going to be the IEEE conferences and other related technical conferences that review the papers, that review the presentations beforehand, that kind of thing. I am not going to do any more commercial presentations for a while because the cost to go to those things has become astronomical. I did one that in the past would have cost me $2,500 for a 10x10 and cost me $12,000. And it's because all these marketing folks are throwing a ton of money at the conferences, and there weren't enough people there to justify it. So it's like, I'm going to go back to the conferences where my customers are, that they're there to learn, not to be sold something, and that when I'm on stage with other people that had presented, when I make a comment, they understand what I'm saying.
Well, I know one conference you're going to next year that is very intentional about.
I've got to send him the stuff still. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
It's
February,
really focused in. Yeah, it's focused in on community. It's not a selling event. It's great workshops, awesome interactions where people can be real. They don't have to be shy about talking about a problem. It's not about selling software. And of course, I'm talking about Streamline Conference's 2026 event. That's in February out in Greenville. I'll do promo when we get a little bit closer, but anybody that hears
right
this,
where I just was, right?
yeah. And that's, when I talk about friends that we have out that way, it's a unique conference in that it really is what it purports to be, which is part of the reason I'm part of that group. I'm on the advisory board for a reason. Alex and I talked deeply about that, and we're really excited that you're going to be there because we know what you're going to bring for the attendees, and it's going to be people that are actually attending to learn stuff, not to buy stuff.
Well, my intent there, because I still have to tell them what I'm going to be up to, is I'm going to propose a presentation related to what's coming out in actual standards, not these, professional society and trade associations throwing things together because some of the vendors that participate in those want their stuff in a document saying that this is the way to go. These are going to be the IEEE, IEC, ISO stuff that's out there. I mean, there's guidance already, and it's being very deliberately ignored.
Well, we've got a bigger venue for 2026, and that is, we had to make room for you and your team.
Which leads us into the quick switch. Now I'm going to turn this around. So what started you down the path of CMMS Radio?
Well, I'll just kind of start where I start. So if we go back, so briefly in my youth, I'm from the Midwest and did a lot of like blue collar type work. That's what we do. We're all about it, right? And I'm in some of these different manufacturing environments, doing janitorial, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I end up out in California, and I'd already been exposed to some of these various industries, and a buddy of mine comes out about 6 months later. His name's Sean. Dear friend of mine. He's watching us from above now, but I have to always shout that out because he's part of this story. In the 90s, he starts a building maintenance company, which is a janitorial company that intends to start doing more than janitorial, but it has to start at the beginning. So it's like this $400 worth of equipment, and I'm helping him land jobs, and I'm meeting him at night, helping on the jobs. And, it might be a YMCA, and I'm shooting baskets at 2 a.m. because I did my section, and I'm just keeping him company. On and on like this, start growing the company. And the thing that we were doing at that company was we were focused very heavily on the idea that we differentiate through delivery of the outcome, like actually doing what we say we're going to do. Everybody says that shit, but they don't do it. Yep. And we started to develop systems without software to keep everybody really focused on what we were trying to do. So we would issue hard copy work orders, and we would issue them in triplicate so we wouldn't lose the original. And we've got one to go out in the field and all this, one to file away. And then we'd have these systems in place where people doing all the work could bonus based on performance, but we made it meaningful performance attached to money. So they had a touch of skin in the game because we wanted them to feel a sense of ownership of their job sites, on and on like this. Then we bring in this technology, and we start using this computer system to manage our accounting and our bidding. And one night, we're having one of those evening calls, because in entrepreneurial type business environments, doesn't matter what time it is, you're going to be talking shop. And I say, why don't we start putting these work orders in the system? Is there a way for us to do that so we can see, track, and manage when they're issued, who they went to, what it was for, was it a complaint, was it a scheduled job, blah, blah, blah. Years later, company's growing, it's getting pretty big. I had departed and went into e-commerce, but Sean wanted to build a system that matched our whole process because all the systems out there weren't quite right. And so he starts building it based on our account management style, how we worked with our operational teams in afternoon meetings, evening follow-ups, and morning follow-ups, tag work. Then you start bringing in building engineers and people we worked with to facilitate all this. And there was a piece of software he built, and I joined and helped build that company. It was a CMMS platform. I don't promote it because I'm not connected to it. You can figure it out in my profile what it was. Yeah. Brilliant. Loved it. I got to work with a lot of the clients that we had at that former company who had adopted it to use with other things. That's why the company was actually spun off instead of an internal solution. We knew we were a CMMS. We knew we were a property facilities management type solution. We knew how a lot of these things worked. And what was really weird is we also fit well in a lot of manufacturing environments. So we started getting all this exposure to experts while we were listening and understanding how they could do what they wanted to do. They would tell us and we'd say, what if we did like this? And they go, yeah, that's perfect. And we're like, cool. So you do that for 15 years and you start to get an understanding through osmosis. We sell the company. I go along for the ride with the new company. Lasted a couple of years. I call it my corporate washout moment, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. These things happen. But I love this industry. So one night I'm sitting here thinking, God, what am I going to do? What if I do one of these podcasts, man? People have been telling me my whole life you should be on the radio and do voice work, and I never do it, right? So I say, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to call it CMMS Radio, and I'm going to talk about maintenance management. It's about computerized maintenance management, but I really want to focus in on people and process. I don't really want to sell any technology, but I want to talk about how it can be leveraged. And within the first 8 episodes, it lands smack dab in the middle of the reliability space, maintenance and reliability. I was completely shocked. I thought it was going to land in the facilities management space and a few other things that were a little more centric to property management, facilities management, maybe nonprofits that are managing single or multi-site facilities, schools, universities, and it just landed in this space. And I started to ask people right away why. Some people that we know in common, like Brian Bieski or Corey Dickens or on and on like this. And I said, yeah, but why though? I didn't expect this. And they said, yeah, well, it's because of what you're saying and that you get it and all that. I said, yeah, but I'm not a reliability professional. And they go, that's not why we like it. We like it because you're not making anything up. You're talking about what actually makes a difference. You actually do understand it, and don't change anything that you're doing. Just keep doing this. Are you going to start doing guests? And I said, I didn't intend to. And they said, well, I'd like to be your first guest, and on like that. So here I am now doing CMMS Radio with guests on video. I don't do monologues anymore because I feel really weird being on camera. Which people are like, what are you talking about? You do it every day. And I'm like, I don't like doing monologues on camera. I feel like a whatever, right? So that's how I did it. And now after 3.5 years or so, it's getting a little beyond that now. I'm probably a couple 100+ episodes. I've been really blessed to connect with the people that actually have integrity. A few that aren't, necessarily like the bee's knees or anything like that, but I'm learning along the way. I get to go to some conferences and do these awesome panel discussions, which for me is fun. It's fun because I know I get to draw out these questions and I don't have to ask perfect or highly intelligent questions. I can actually ask what I call dumb questions. And I mean that they're relatively uninformed questions that I think would be more common for regular people in maintenance to just ask. I've never heard of that. I'm shocked how many people still to this day, if I say, hey, do you know what a CMMS is? They don't know. No. And I'm at a maintenance conference. I'm like, this is not possible, right? Then I start saying, well, what about a work order system? Oh, yeah, we know what work orders are. I said, what about asset management or preventive maintenance? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And now we're cooking, right? I don't care about the CMMS as much as I care about maintenance management and how do we enable teams to do more of the great work that they do. Boy, I spun out there.
How do you run into Brian and those guys?
So Brian, he reached out to me because of some of the monologues.
Oh, okay.
And he said, hey, he pinged me on LinkedIn. He said, hey man, I want to talk to you. I like some of the shit you're saying. I don't know if he said it exactly that way. And we met up and talked.
He was a carrier sailor, so probably.
yeah. And we got Maintenance Sea Stories 3 we got to do coming up in November.
Yep, exactly.
With Brian, me and Brian. So he says, hey man, why don't I come on and record with you? And I have to go back to look, who was first and all that. That doesn't matter. The fact that he reached out and kind of said that, I said, I don't really do that. And he's like, come on, man, let's do it. So we did. And we did a couple of different episodes. I did kind of a slow release of the clips, and we were fast friends. We had a lot of alignment on what we care about, but we also, this is an interesting way to say this, a lot of alignment on the fact that I don't know what I don't know. And I kind of learned that from him, and it helped me be even more aware that I don't have to know things, that I have to be willing to learn things, because he kind of operates that way. He wants to know what people know because he knows he doesn't know everything. But we got a lot of alignment there. But that's the thing. I'm not just here to agree with everyone. I'm looking for like-minded, but I'm looking for people that will say, well, no, it's not quite like that. It's actually like this. Because I'm good with that.
I've noticed that too. The personalities that seem to gravitate to this discussion, have been people I've known for a while and I respect, and I don't always agree with them.
Of course.
But I've always learned from them. You know what I mean?
You
always have to do it this way. And I mean, I do it too. We have to do it this way, but then that's not the only way.
Yeah.
I'm just old.
Well, and so what was really cool, speaking of Brian Bieski, is right away he's like, hey man, you need to talk to this person, this person, this person. You were on the top 5 day one.
Yep.
And it took a while, but we finally got to connect. And when I say this stuff about being blessed, that I have a lot of gratitude for the actual friends that I have that are in the industry, I don't think words can convey how important that is to me. It's not a virtue signal at all. It's like real. I think too many people out there in this industry and in this world, they don't know how to be real, and you don't need to know how to be real. You just have to let go, and then you will be real. Don't be so damn concerned with being right. And, real people aren't going to crush you. They're going to take that opportunity to say, you know what? You should do it like this. Not to change you, but to inform you. I don't know. Yeah. I'm spinning out here because I care about a lot of things. I like realness. I like outcomes for customers. I think I want to be known for the relentless pursuit of the elusive win-win. I've been saying it for 25 years. I don't know, something like that. Because I think it matters. We get to make as much money as we want if we're making a difference for the people that give us that money.
Yep.
It's not hard.
You're looking for the Relia-Squatch of
of everything.
You always hear about it, you never find it.
But you got to look for it. You got to be that's what it is.
I am curious about one thing, because when we first started talking, I mean, I remember we dove right into the whole AI topic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the burning part of that for you? 'Cause I have no problem talking about it. I've been doing it for, matter of fact, I just found some of my old IEEE papers on the topic this morning while I was looking up a few things.
So I think my answer is slightly different any given day, depending on what I've seen online or what I'm thinking about. I love the idea and the concept of how we can leverage technology to do things with and kind of for us. What I don't like is the one thing that I really don't like, that always has worried me about all technology, is it can foster a certain kind of laziness. And I think that's a general issue that we have, where I think there's a really big price to pay for progress. So all the cool, shiny stuff, sometimes it really is cool, shiny, and effective.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's cool and shiny, and it's like a gigantic nothing burger, or it might even be bad. So, Matt Knuth, who I know you're good friends with, and he's a dear friend. I remember when he said this term, actual intelligence, and I'm like, yes, that's the AI I want. And then, everybody thinks I'm anti-AI. I'm not. I want to put it in kind of a box so that it has its lane, and I don't want it pulling in a bunch of nonsense. I want it based on the right kind of info, and I don't want anybody using it for the kind of shortcuts that will take something away from their human abilities. So I'm not anti-AI. I'm anti set it and forget it. I'm anti
non-critical thinking.
Yeah, I'm worried about how rare and how screwed up the idea and the concepts of critical thinking are at this point versus 20 years ago. And I know we change and we evolve and all that, but I think that's a dangerous evolution because it makes most of us really fucking dumb.
Yeah. Well,
and we don't even know it.
I'm going to redirect things just a tad here. And Janine, because you've had to patiently listen to us talk, you've been doing a lot of schoolwork, right? So how has this particular topic affected what you're seeing versus in the past?
Yeah, so I graduated with my undergrad in 2002 and my first master's degree in 2008, where this was not a thing. But I'm currently going to school for my MBA. I'll be done next year, and I'm working on it online. And it's a whole other world. So, I would say all but 2 of my classes so far, they do not want you using AI. There's an honor code that we have to hold on to. We have to, every paper and post online, I did not use, artificial intelligence for this, blah, blah, blah. I've had 2 classes. I had one, my econ class. We were encouraged to use it. She wanted to know she even sent us a survey, just like, do you use it? How do you use it? And, she really encouraged it. We didn't use it for the whole class, but, that was the only class that was really big. And I found an article online about that particular professor and the class. I think I posted on LinkedIn. And then I took digital marketing over the summer, and that was another class where it's like, do not use it, but you could use it for this one project. And I use it, at work all the time for marketing. And what I learned, I got 3 certifications over the summer. One was at ITIL, and I think the instructor, he said it perfectly. This is not going to take away jobs. This is to help automate and do the little, petty tasks so you could focus on the more important tasks. And I think that described it best. But going back to the school part it's amazing that you're told not to use it, but are people doing that? No. I brainstorm on it sometimes because if you're working all day and then you go to work on your school stuff, your brain is just, it's oatmeal at that time. So, sometimes it's like, here, help me, explain this to me. I don't understand it. Right now I'm working on statistics and trying to do a statistics class online. It's a little difficult. So Howard knows a lot about this. Explain it to me like I'm 5. So it's helping, but, I'm not using it and copying and pasting and doing my homework from it. So I think it's eating, but I also think it's going to take away from the whole critical thinking because I think people are jumping right to it and, help me write this paper, draft this paper, rather than writing a paper off, without using it. So it's changed a lot. I mean, it's encouraged, it's mostly discouraged, but sometimes it's encouraged and I think it'll help, but I also fear that it's really taking away from critical thinking. And, I would hate to be an instructor. I taught online, in person and online when I worked in higher ed, and I couldn't imagine being on that side of things, I know they have tools to run things through to see if they used AI in their papers, but it's, AI can make your presentation for you. It could do everything. You don't have to think anymore. So back to what Howard was saying, when it comes to school and the workplace is, it can really, it's changed a lot. And I use it for marketing a lot. I learned about it from about 2 years ago when I was in association management. Sherry, I consider her a mentor in the industry, and she owns a company that does consulting for associations, and we're having lunch, and I had no idea about it. She's like, look, I made this presentation. She's showing me on the app on her phone. I'm like, I need to play with this when I get back to the office. And then little by little, I started watching webinars and learning, more and more and more about it. And, it's nice that Howard's very open to it too, where, he taught me how to, he trained ours to give us Squatch and all different settings and things like that for marketing. So, it's also nice to work in a place that's open to it. But of course, we know that it has its hallucinations and it's definitely not perfect. So, there's that. That's my long rant about AI.
Yeah, for those who think I'm anti-AI, I think we utilize AI more than most organizations I'm familiar with. We went digital transformation ages ago. So
I don't need Canva or any of those other tools online. I use AI for all of our graphic posts. So it's a heaven sent to me. I love it. It makes everything great.
Those are the things that are really good, right? It can help you with the lift. It can help to take something effective and make it more efficient, which I think is awesome. Like I like that. I use it for some stuff. I've used it for some summaries and all that. And like even in our world of maintenance and reliability, I don't believe AI is going to replace the human knowledge and insight. I don't think this is the end of tribal knowledge. I think tribal knowledge is something to be captured, curated, and protected. I think we can build on it. I think AI could learn from it, but that's where it is. The reason I chuckled when you were talking, Janine, was I remember when I went to college and they had tools to verify papers were actually original and all that. And when you said it, the reason I laughed is because yes, they're using AI to see if you wrote your paper with AI, and then eventually the two AIs are going to decide, hey, should we let this one slip? Yeah, that's why I laughed, because we were talking about how AI can do that. I think AI has all these potentials. I think there's still a lot of noise and nonsense out there. I think it's way too soon. I think we're moving way too fast. I know that's not great for people investing, but I think there will be some further shakeouts. I don't really want anybody to get hurt. I don't want anybody bullshitting anybody, and I want it to be used in the best possible way. I also don't think I think it's going to create jobs and opportunities. I think some people need to get on board. I think if you're looking at technology in the maintenance realm, I think if it's the right AI used in the right way, in other words, a learning model, a large language model, an algorithmic piece of programming, which is what it actually is, that actually knows something, it'll get to that next corner. I don't know. I just wanted to put that in there because I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's got a lot of risks and there are appropriate ways to use it. I just love the idea that I could take it, teach it, and then say, all right, don't go out on the internet or do anything right now. Just use what you know right now and help me with this. The stuff you were talking about, Janine, or some of the cool stuff you do, Howard, when it comes to Rely Squatch and those other things. Awesome for creating stuff. I mean,
even some of the technology we have, we utilize it to build the framework. It doesn't do our algorithms. Like the new device, continuous monitoring device we have, heavily leveraged the programming side, a very specific part of ChatGPT. I mean, I pay a lot every month for not for the free stuff, right?
Right.
You could almost call it borderline vibe coding, but it's more along the lines of creating the shell, creating the interface, doing certain things like that, and then going in behind it and adding in the important stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say I've got a CMMS, right? And it's being used well. Let's just make some assumptions. Dangerous, yes. But let's say there's standardization. People are actually using it properly. They're putting in good, nice details, not too much detail, not too simple. So we've got a good, solid CMMS. And we now want to leverage AI within that CMMS, and we can keep it focused on that singular account. Yeah. Right. It's not going into all the accounts that the CMMS company provides. It's just a single account. I think, and I envision that the AI can actually sift through, slice and dice our data much quicker and put it in multiple contexts. Yeah. What I always wonder about is there a risk that it will accidentally change data?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that has occurred in some instances because people are trying to use LLMs for what they're not meant for. An LLM is literally a chatbot, right? It's not meant to do all these other things that people are doing, right? So from a programming perspective and things like that, where you say, hey, I want to create this, and it goes out and puts pieces of code together from what it's learned elsewhere, like GitHub and all these other places. That's where it's learning. It's bringing that in, good and bad. But there's rules for coding, and that comes in. That's why I like it, because, when I've put my own stuff together in the past, it gets blocky because one day I'm using one format, the next day I'm using a different format because I'm not a professional programmer, right? So I'll use it. So I say, okay, use these rules. So boom, I've got the format, the setup, and then I start filling in the blocks, the functions, right? And I'm getting off track. But yeah, that type of thing, and there's actually news stories out there about companies where somebody's gone in and they will release the capability. Like, for instance, I could technically link our system, what we pay for, to my OneDrive, to my Google Drive, to all this other stuff. It'll go in there. It'll go get stuff for me. It'll alter it. It'll change it. It'll delete it. And then they'll say, yeah, I deleted it and it's unrecoverable, that kind of thing. So I keep that air gapped.
Yeah.
So yes, it could absolutely do it. As a matter of fact, I do have the story of somebody who called me in a panic because they bought a CMMS. That was an AI-based CMMS. And because they were missing so much data, the company that was selling the CMMS software sold them on using an AI to fill in the gaps. So they were then making business decisions upon AI-generated data in an AI CMMS system. So
that's the thing.
That was a disaster.
And what I envision is, if somebody can solve that, now we're cooking. If somebody can solve that.
The real thing is most maintenance technicians, we are problem solvers, right? The objective is to go in, solve a problem. We're stuck on, I myself as well. I go in, why do I like doing what I do? Why am I not working for such and such corporation like I was before and stuff? It's because I like getting in the field and solving the big problems. I get a rush from it. Right. It's like, oh yeah, there's this huge issue here. Yeah, I'm going to solve it. And it feels good when people implement your solutions and you see the results. Right. Again, I'm getting off track. Sorry.
Okay.
Pull me back in. What were we talking about?
Well, essentially, when it comes to this idea of leveraging AI within a CMMS, so let's pretend I suddenly have my own and I want to put AI in there and I can kind of control it. What will it do with the data if I want it to slice and dice my data in a certain way? Because I don't want it to change the data. First,
what I was working on there. Sorry, I got to finish what I started. It's an autism thing. But anyways, the first thing is, the maintenance technicians don't understand how important this data is. Okay, because we did this stuff at NIH. There were 12 PhD level data scientists. We weren't calling the stuff AI at the time. We had a ton of data there. We had Maximo going and stuff like that, and they were pulling that information, and getting the technicians to fill out everything correctly was a focus. Because if we got good information in, we had something to work with, or they did, I should say, because I gave input. I wasn't a participant. So I gave input on stuff. And, these guys were sharp. They were doing that. They were slicing and dicing the data. We were getting good feedback back. They thought, hey, how are we doing this? And it'd be like, okay, well, one of my favorite lines was one of the gentlemen came down. He goes, "We've got all this data on the motors, on the compressors. What do we use to make decisions on it?" And I kind of chuckled and I said, "Vibration and temperature. That's it." All that other stuff, that's great. Let's build an indicator off that. But there's not going to be a decision. The decision makers cannot make a decision without vibration and temperature. Everything else gives us an idea of when to look for the vibration and temperature, or give us some reasoning behind it. So it gives us that information. Now, CMMS, if I've got history of failures and I've got reasons and I've got good codes going in, I don't tell everybody, but I was trained on the Navy 3M system, which is basically a CMMS on paper. And we had to make sure that all the data was correct because we would sit down and make maintenance and RCM decisions off of that data.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Navy, you had to fill out the paperwork. Pencil whipping could cost you a stripe. Could cost you personally money.
You had to use failure modes, and you also had to use closeout codes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to. I mean, it was form work. It was in triplicate, and then we'd sit down and go through stuff. And I'll give you, for instance, one of the big RCM things I did in 2005. I was sitting there, and they wanted to take 300-foot Coast Guard vessels that go overseas as well, and they wanted to see if we could get the pier side time down. Well, we sat there and it's like, okay, what's the longest thing we do? Infrared. Okay, so let's go through the process and let's take a look at how we're doing all this stuff. So we did, it wasn't the RCM process. It was, what did we call it? Maintenance effectiveness review, which is the follow-up to RCM. So you still follow the RCM process, but it's a shorter form. Okay, so I think I did an article on it for Reliability Web or something back in the day. So and then it was picked up by Aladon as they created their own version of it because it's really cool. You go back in, it's like, okay, we take a look at it and we're going, okay, what are the steps leading up to it? Well, you go into the panel, you tighten all the connections and you vacuum it, and then you do an infrared. Why are you doing an infrared? Let's go back and get the records and see how many defects we saw related to infrared surveys. And in 10 years, there was one on all those vessels. So we said, drop it on power panels, keep it on other things, use it sparingly on the power panels when we suspect we have an issue, but let's find other indicators. It dropped 2 weeks off a 3-week pier side.
And that's huge.
But we had the data. Yeah. So if I go to a company and they're not keeping track of the data, they're not entering the data into that CMMS system, and I saw it at General Motors a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people did not want to use the system, or you go to a plant and you'd have all the Maximo terminals around and they were locked because they didn't want those pesky maintenance guys using it. I'm not joking.
I believe you.
Those are the facilities. By the way, those are the facilities that were shut down. A majority of the facilities that went away after 2008 were the facilities that were not properly maintaining because their costs were too high.
Yeah.
I was directly on the QNPM group. So I think it's been a decade or more. So I think I can talk about this stuff because it's all different now. Now it's a global management systems, and they're still using the stuff that we created because we were using real data in order to support the programs we were doing. And you'd go into a plant, it'd be like, okay, well, how are you doing this? Can you show us how the work order or the procedure on the work order? Nope, I can't show it to you because I don't have access. Well, how are you doing the work?
Yeah.
And they'd shrug their shoulder. Everything was entered correctly. But that's another problem we had was there was no structure. So we would have multiple entries for the same device, depending on what shift was doing the survey for the equipment, right? So it's, pump number 1. Well, that's first shift. Second shift, it's the water pump, and the fourth shift it's the glycol pump or whatever names they came up with. So you'd have the same system in there 3 times, and
now you got
build
a
in
mess.
the maintenance.
Now you got
and then in other cases they would add things to maintenance and not take things away, like in air handling units. And this is somebody else. At another type of facility, because at that period of time I had 3 major contracts, and we were running. That's when I was doing the maintenance consulting stuff, not the troubleshooting stuff I'm enjoying now. I just, I was competing too much with my friends. So, I like working with like reliable. So
we lost you for a second.
Oh,
for a second, we lost you.
That's my microphone connection was coming loose.
Running out of juice.
Yeah, it's a Reliability X. I don't want to compete with them, but that's the type of work I used to do, and used to do it really well. And it's like, no, I want to be the person that those guys come to help sort out the technical issues, which I think I'm better at the technical issues in any case, but I understand everything above it.
Well, and you're bringing them for a plant turnaround or some of the other things they're absolutely the best at. And I don't get anything for that, folks, when I say that. I'm talking real deal pros here, and that's another thing I want to be known for. And man, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff on that. We can't tell anybody, though. Don't tell anybody what that stuff we've been planning is. Well, man, for me, this has been fun.
Yeah. And I've got one swallow left.
I'm all out. That's kind of what I was gauging it on.
Janine, you got any final words based on everything you heard?
No, I'm empty too, just so the record will get ice.
Wow. So it's Chaos and Coffee on CMMS Radio. CMMS Radio joins Chaos and Coffee with Relia Squatch. Howard Penrose.
Greg, you got to help me on something. I've been struggling to get Bronca on here. She used to run SAP for a very large tire company at one point, and then became like an IT leader for that organization. So she's quiet about it, but she knows more about our industry than she lets on.
Yeah, she just doesn't want to.
I'm trying to get her in on this one today. But
she's like, nope. She would talk about it if we were in person with no cameras or mics.
Yeah. She likes ruling from behind the.
Yeah. Well, she's doing the work, man. There's behind every great man, there's an awesome woman, and you also have an awesome woman on your team here with Janine. So I want to thank you for hosting me today.
I only pick the best. Yeah. Well, and both ways, by the way. This is going to be fun. As soon as this all compiles, I'll get you the video, and then we'll go to get them with the 2-prong approach.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate you, brother. Janine.
Yep.
Nice to see you virtually.
Nice to see you too. Thank you, Greg.
You got it. Have a great day, everybody.
You as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.